Hi guys, it's Andy from Nismotech UK. In partnership with Unique PCs, we give you the Arctic Freezer 13CO side-blowing CPU cooler. Okay, so let's start with the actual packaging itself. As you can see, it's in a clear plastic shell, which is nice to see. You can see the actual product all the way around, which is good. We've got the fan at the front, obviously with the Arctic branding right in the middle of the actual fan blades, the Arctic cooling down here, and the Freezer 13CO down here. This particular CPU cooler is designed for continuous operation, so it's 24/7 operation. It may look small, but the actual performance from the actual CPU is apparently really good indeed. So moving it around to this side, obviously you've got a side image of the actual, side profile of the actual heatsink itself, which we'll come on to in a bit more. Just want to look at the top actually. Obviously it mentions here 24/7, 365 days a year, continuous operation, 200 watts of cooling capacity. On this side we have got information about the socket compatibility. Intel socket SUM5 1155, 1156, 1366, and AMD socket SUM54 939, AM2, AM2 Plus and AM3. Now onto the actual back of the box. Also we've got further specification here. One thing to point out is the 6-year limited warranty. It's a nice amount of warranty that comes with the actual cooler itself. We also have got some information here about some testing that Arctic have done using an Intel i7-920 overclocked. The freezer itself performed at 2000 RPM and delivered a temperature of 46.3, whereas the stock cooler that came with the CPU managed 64.8 degrees C. The noise level for this is 0.5 SON, which I believe a SON is around about 40 dBA, so that's saying it's around about 20 dBA. And the stock cooler is double the actual noise. Onto the actual dimensions: 123mm in length, 98mm in width, and 130mm in height. So obviously it's not the tallest of CPU coolers out there on the market. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a look at the inside and get this open to give you guys an actual first look. So just bear with me a moment. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this around to the back so that we can open up these little lugs here. And as you can see, the actual cooler itself is starting to come out of the actual box. So we're just going to put that down there and remove the rest of the packaging because we don't actually need that at this precise moment in time. One thing that we've got here is a quick installation guide and information about the actual accessories that does come with the actual cooler, so obviously make sure that you're able to read that. Also it features push pins as well, so the installation of this actual cooler is going to be very simple and very easy for the majority of people to do. So moving on to the actual cooler itself, let's just lift that up a moment and we can then remove part of the actual accessories, which are neatly tucked in behind here, and we're going to remove that there. I'm just going to stick this back into the actual plastic here, if I do that, and we're just going to rest that down on there. So let's now look at the actual accessories that come with it. Obviously this is your Intel mounting plate, and these are your AMD accessories, and in here we've got the Intel push pins to connect it straight through the actual motherboard itself. So let's just move that to one side. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual cooler itself. As you can see, the fan is of a grey colour and seems to hug the actual heatsink itself, which is a really nice feature. There's no clips on the actual fan. It's 92mm in diameter and runs from 800 to 2000 RPM via the braided 4-pin cable. It is also a dual ball bearing fan, so the life of the actual fan itself is going to be extended, as well as reduction in the noise levels. Moving on to the actual fins of the cooler, there are 45 of them in total, and they are 0.5mm in thickness. And as I turn this around so you can have a look at the top, I really love the aggressive sort of shapes and lines that have been cut into the actual fins themselves, and the actual heatsink. It looks really good indeed, and it looks quite a mean CPU cooler. Moving on to the actual copper pipes, As you can see, we've got a copper base out the actual bottom of the cooler. This has been pre-applied with MX4 thermal compound. The copper heat pipes themselves are 0.6 millimeters in thickness, and there's a total of 4 of them, also running right from the base to take the heat right out to the top of the actual cooler. And as you can see, we have got the mounting bracket already pre-installed onto the actual cooler itself to make this one of the easiest CPU coolers to actually install. Okay, so if you were to actually install this into an Intel system, obviously you'd have the mounting plate right at the top here. You've got some push pins that you'd literally just push straight down and lock into place. I'll just show you with a couple of them there. And then the actual cooler itself would fit straight on top like that. And then you'd actually screw it down with the actual screws, which potentially could be a bit of a problem with that fan there. So obviously the actual fan itself must come off to enable you to actually screw it down. And also you can see that there screws literally from the top straight through into the actual plastic like that. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is just connect this up to a power supply so we can have a look at the actual fan in operation. Okay, so I've now connected the Freezer 13CO up to a power source. So we'll just flick that on. And as you can see, the actual CPU fan itself is going around at full speed, which is 2000 RPM. Moving that around, there is actually quite a great deal of airflow coming from the actual back, so that's going to knock a lot of heat away from the actual cooler. That's quite impressive, the actual airflow from the actual fan itself. There is quite a bit of noise coming from it at the moment, to be fair. This might be down to the actual plastic carton that we've got the actual cooler rested on, but apart from that, that's what it looks like in operation. Okay, so on to my thoughts about the Freezer 13CO from Arctic. I really like the aggressive look of the actual heatsink itself. The fan also suits it very well with the sort of moulded framework that it is encased in. Even though it's small in size, I'd imagine that the Freezer 13CO is going to pack a serious punch when it comes to performance. It is designed for continuous 24/7 operation after all. It supports a great deal of sockets as well from Intel and AMD, and is also Haswell compatible. The installation onto the motherboard should be very simple and very easy with the adapters and the push pins that are provided especially for the Intel sockets. And even though it might be a bit of a bugbear to some people, I like the fact that it does come pre-applied with the MX4 thermal compound, although some people do prefer to use their own thermal compound on coolers. Now we are going to be doing some testing on the Freezer 13CO with our test bench, so make sure that you do keep an eye out for that review. And we hope you like the overview of the Freezer 13CO, and we'll see you in our next video. We hoped you liked our video review. If you did, then please leave a like as well as any comments or questions you may have down below. Full details and specifications on this item can be found at our website nismotech.com, along with all the links for purchasing if you wish. Also on our site you'll find our latest reviews and current giveaways, plus a lot more. We look forward to seeing you in our next review.